Hi, welcome to Ear for Fear. This is Rick, and this is the podcast that talks about scary movies or movies trying to be scary. Today, we are joined once again by one of our regular guests, Monster Movie Man 13, Morris Hoyleman.
Hey.
Welcome back, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me back.
Yeah, absolutely, man. You survived last week's Vamp episode.
Oh, yeah.
That was a good one. We got to sit back and reminisce about the 80s, which is always fun for us.
Oh, yeah, it's my decade.
Yeah, because, I mean, the 80s were cool and 2020 sucks ass.
Yeah, I always tend to stick with the decade where I was a teenager. You know, that's my...
80s were the best,
yeah.
Dude. I'm sure there's other people that think their decade was the best, but...
Yeah.
But dude, the 80s was the best.
Absolutely.
But anyways, hey, before you and I jump into, you and I today are doing 2019's The Mortuary Collection. Ahead of time, just to let people know, there's going to be spoilers. Again, before I jump into the synopsis, Monster Movie Man 13, Instagram and YouTube.
YouTube as well. Yeah.
I always want to say Facebook. I know that's not it. So let's do a quick synopsis of the Mortuary Collection. In the small town of Raven's End, a misguided young girl takes refuge in an old mortuary. The eccentric undertaker chronicles the strange history of the town through a series of twisted tales. But the young girl's world is unhinged when she discovers that the final story is her own. All right, man. So the Mortuary Collection 2019. This was just recently released on Shudder, though, right?
Yeah, it's one of those that Shudder will pick up and then they'll say it's a Shudder exclusive.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they do a lot of those, and it's always like the movie was already made a couple of years earlier or something, right?
That's very true.
Yeah.
This I wanted to ask you if we could do this one because I kept hearing good buzz about it, and I didn't want to get spoiled on it, so I was thinking that, like why not? Let's watch this one and see how we like it.
Yeah, I think you and I had originally talked about doing Critters to follow with the 1986 because we did Vamp, which was 1986, and we're like, hey, let's do Critters because Critters is a cool, fun movie. But yeah, you wanted to do this, and that was fine. I'm a sucker for a good anthology. I can't say this was a good anthology. This was an anthology horror movie, but I have a lot of mixed feelings on this one, man. You and I have not talked about it at all.
Not at all.
We purposely did not talk about whether we liked it or not.
Right.
So that we could save it for the episode.
Absolutely.
I'll be honest, man. It was just for me. Like, it's a movie that I watched. One of the stories was decent. And then I don't think I'd ever watch it again.
Yeah.
Like, it's not a creep show. It's not a trick or treat. I like a good anthology, and this was not, man.
Well, my thoughts, they're more, they're kind of aligned with you, but I think I appreciated this one a little bit more. It seems like this director, Ryan Spindell, which he doesn't have a lot of credits to his name yet, but it mostly is in in horror stories and some other things, that he really did care visually on how he wanted his thing to look, his picture to look. And it really shows. I have to kind of give credit where credit's due. Visuals and the production value was pretty top notch for a movie of this caliber. A lot of people would say that it's a low budget movie. I think they used every single penny into this budget. My thoughts are, and probably this is where it aligns with you, that while the stories aren't scary, the stories aren't extremely as well written as I wish they could have been. But I think the wraparound and the way that they were telling the stories was pretty inventive, and I enjoyed that. So
yeah, no, I mean, I agree with you in that aspect. I agree with the fact that it looked like it was a big budget film.
Yeah.
It did. It visually looked really great.
Oh my God.
Like I was actually impressed by that because I'm sure not a lot of money went into this thing.
No, but the atmosphere was
was
on
good.
point. Yeah.
Yeah, it was good. I mean, acting was good. You know, Clancy Brown, or, you know, if you're looking at him, it's Angus Scrimm, but it's not Angus Scrimm because, you know.
Yeah.
But, and again, I don't know why they did this. It's like, look, you can have a kind of, you know, weird, creepy mortuary guy that doesn't look like the tall man from Phantasm.
Right.
But it's almost like they went out of their way to purposely make Clancy Brown look like that. Because
Yeah.
we know Clancy Brown doesn't look like that. We know he's older.
Yeah.
We know he's older these days, but he is, you know, he's a bigger guy, you know, taller guy. And then you think that's why they, you know, they're like, well, we want like a tall man, you know, look. So let's get Clancy Brown.
Yeah.
He's tall. He's kind of, you know, he's been
got
kind
that
of
deep voice.
He does. And he's kind of been an asshole in a lot of movies, right?
Yeah.
You know, a Shawshank, Pet Cemetery 2. I'm sure you could think of other ones.
Bad Boys.
There you go.
The Highlander.
There you go.
He's a villain in just about every single one.
Yeah,
Pet Cemetery 2.
Yeah. And so I don't know, man. I thought that was the thing that kind of was like, you know, why did you make him look like Angus Scrimm? Because he looked like Angus Scrimm. He didn't have to look like him.
Yeah.
Now, you know, of course, he doesn't act like the tall man, but you know, but I thought he was good in this. I liked him in this. But as a whole, like, dude, I was bored with most of these stories. I'll be honest. Like the first one, I get it. It was more of like just a real quick story. And it wasn't a bad story, but it was literally like 2 minutes long.
Well, I appreciate, I think you have to understand the appreciation for what they were trying to accomplish here. It's a guy that, you know, girls coming for the job interview. And she's like, tell me a scary story. And then, you know, he tells her a story and she's like, not bad. But, you know, so it's kind of that banter where they're telling stories and they're kind of intertwining these stories into those tales where he's kind of like a crypt keeper type of, you know, person that's kind of tying this all together. But, you know, it's like, not bad. And she calls him on the first story, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that's why it wasn't that long. And then he's like, tries the next one. In my opinion, each story got better as it went. Usually with some of these anthologies, there's kind of a low story in the middle. You know, I can name a few different anthologies that are, you know, it starts out strong or it starts out pretty good. Then you got some that really kind of suck. You know,
I'll be honest. There's a handful of, maybe not even a handful of anthologies that I really like.
Yeah.
I mean, the first two creep shows are fantastic.
Yeah.
You know, Trick or Treat is just phenomenal.
It is.
And we just recently did an episode on Trick or Treat.
Yeah.
What was the one? It came out recently. It had like Adrian Barbeau had like a small part in it. Something Halloween. I forget what it was, but it was like 9 different stories.
Tales of Halloween.
Sure. That was trash.
Yeah.
I watched it. There was not one story in there that was any good to me.
Actually, you know, I'd have to beg to differ on that. There are a lot of stories that really sucked in there. There was some that I enjoyed, and there were some that were campy as fuck. But at the same time, I enjoyed not most of the stories, but a few of those stories. Yeah, there was some like the cackling, you know, witch that was kind of like a Hansel and Gretel, and she was torturing her husband. That one sucked. You know, the pumpkin that went out of control at the very end, that one sucked.
Dude, I didn't like any of them.
Yeah.
And I know, see, you have a little more tolerance.
I do.
Probably a lot more tolerance with some of these horror movies than I do.
Yeah.
I watched it because I wanted to give it a chance because I do love anthologies.
Yeah.
And it sucked. It sucked for me. Like the news that previous, well, kind of more recent season of Creep Show on Shudder.
Oh yeah,
they were all pretty bad. Like again, I don't know if it's a budget thing, if it was a time constraint, I don't know, but none of them were any good for me.
It didn't seem like they had quite the budget that they needed to make it be called Creep Show. Yeah, there was a lot of those episodes that weren't working for me as well. I did enjoy the very first one, and then there was a couple others that I liked. Oddly enough, there's a story in this one. I don't know if we want to wait to get to it.
No, we could talk. We do whatever we want.
Okay.
Go ahead. Yeah.
So I don't know if you remember the one that was called Lydia Lane, where we're talking about that first season of Creepshow on Shudder.
Okay.
So that woman that ended up giving the promotion to the man instead of her lover girlfriend.
Yes.
And then
kind of reminded me of this. Yes.
She won this award.
Yeah.
And then she accidentally impaled her girlfriend's head in the award.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Did it not remind you of this?
Oh yeah, totally.
And then get stuck on the elevator.
Yeah, it did.
It was totally the same story.
And to me, it's like, okay, what the hell, man? I mean,
yeah,
is it just a coincidence?
I don't.
Maybe
the funny thing is I didn't have a lot of time to do any background research on this, but I wonder if he was the writer on that one. It's very possible.
Maybe, but it did remind me of that. And I just thought that one, to be honest, the one in Creepshow and the one in this one, that one was just, it was all over the place for me. It just was boring. It made no, dude, I honestly, watching this, and I'd never seen this before, and I needed to really concentrate for the episode.
Yeah.
I just was so bored. I almost felt like getting on my phone.
Well, the funny thing is for me, and like you were saying, I have more tolerance for that kind of stuff. I didn't realize that this was like a hour and 48 minutes.
This is long.
But this movie, for me, it moved along. I didn't realize how. I was like, wow, that's already the end.
The best part for me, I think, was really anything with Clancy Brown. His character Montgomery Dark.
Oh yeah,
Montgomery Dark. That's a pretty cool name, right? Like that's a cool name.
That is.
He was good. He was good. The woman that played Sam or Slash the babysitter, she was pretty good too.
Yeah.
But everything else was like, just, I don't know, man. Like, again, I love anthologies. I think, with this pandemic and like a lot of like studios being on halt because they can't, film. I think what you're going to see in the next coming years is a lot of anthology movies like this, because it's easy to take to shoot a 15-minute movie.
Oh yeah.
And then shoot another 15-minute movie. Now you
piece them together,
and then you call it whatever.
Yeah.
And it's easier for that to happen because most of these 15-minute, shorts have anywhere from say 2 to 5 characters. It's a lot easier to do that than do a feature film where you got 100 different people and this and that.
That's true. I
think you're going to see more of them.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping there's some good ones. This one just was like I said, man, it was boring for me.
Yeah.
Not all the way through. There was some good stuff here. Like I said, Clancy Brown was great.
Right.
The last story was the best, but then I found out the last story is 5 years old because this was originally a short called The Babysitter Murders.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, okay. So you kind of duped me. Like I kind of thinking this is a brand new.
No, what was playing on the TV.
No. So, okay. So Ryan Spindell, I looked him up on IMDb. Yeah. He did a short in 2015 called The Babysitter Murders.
Okay.
It's okay. I went, and before you came over, I went on YouTube and I looked at the trailer.
Uh-huh.
The trailer is
exactly the same.
Yeah, exactly the same from this film.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
I'm like, so he filmed this 5 years ago, and then he did a few. This is how I feel, and I could be totally wrong.
Yeah,
totally wrong and way off. But I felt that he had a cool short, and then hey, let me do a couple other shorts that I didn't think were that good. Let me package it together into this Mortuary Collection and let me sell it to somebody, and hey, Shudder's going to grab it. And it's like, oh, okay. So really the story was 5 years ago, and it was a short. And I love shorts, don't get me wrong, but it's not even a new take. Dude, I could be wrong, but when I went on YouTube, it was exactly the same stuff we just watched in the Mortuary Collection.
Oh, that's interesting. I was under the impression it was the footage that was on their TV was the short. No. And they just cut it down to the TV.
That was one of my favorite parts was the fake movie inside of the story.
Yeah.
I love that. But yeah, it was, so that's what I found out about this.
That's how I felt about like All Hallows Eve, the Terrifier, the one that introduced people to Art the Clown.
Yeah.
When Terrifier came out as a short, and then they're like, okay, well, let's go ahead and piece this into the All Hallows Eve, and they did some more shorts, and they tied it together And I know you didn't really care for Terrifier the short.
I didn't.
But that was my favorite short, and it blew me away. It was so awesome.
And I get why you like it, because a lot of people like it.
Yeah.
To me, it was just whatever for me. But a lot of people do like it. I know
the other shorts that they put in there it just didn't add up. It looked different. It had a different feel.
See, and I think that's what you're seeing. It's like you have one good idea, and then instead of just letting that roll just by itself, you're putting other kind of, I don't want to say crap, because they're not total crap, but they're not at the same par as the other one. And then you're kind of, I don't know. I almost felt like they duped us. At least me, I felt kind of duped. Like, oh, so this was a short 5 years ago. Yeah. And I had never heard of it. And I watched a lot of horror shorts, because there's a lot of great, Mama was great. Lights Out was great. And then they try to do feature films, and those films suck, man.
Yeah.
It's like, there's nothing wrong with doing a 10 to 15 minute short and just let it stand the way it is, man. Yeah. But then Hollywood gets involved. Hey, this was kind of cool, so let me throw all this money at you and do it. It's almost like an SNL episode, right? Mm-hmm. Like how many bad SNL movies did we get?
Oh, it's bad.
Dude, like it's Pad, it's Coneheads, it's Night at the Roxbury or Superstar.
Hey, I like Night at the Roxbury.
Man. Dude, it's really not that
The Ladies'
good.
Man.
The Ladies' Man, dude. Yeah. There's for every, let's say, I don't know,
Blues Brothers.
Blues Brothers was great.
For every
Wayne's
Brothers,
Wayne's World.
Wayne's World's another great one.
But dude, Wayne's World 2 stunk.
There's a lot of people that like it.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah,
that's fine.
It has its fans.
My opinion, I thought it sucked. But for every one of like 10 SNL movies, you got one decent one.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
No, I gotcha.
And it's like sometimes those short stories, they only work as a short story.
Yeah.
No sense in putting it into 90 minutes. It just doesn't work most of the time.
Yeah.
And so anyways, that's I don't know. That's kind of how I feel, man. We could talk about each story. The first one was super short. Did you write down the names of each story?
I didn't write down the names of the stories, but I wanted to point out that this guy is obviously, and I know you didn't like this movie, but this guy is obviously a fan of horror films and horror directors, because I saw his visual style was homages to some of it. It was blatant. Sam Raimi. There was a lot of Sam Raimi stuff.
Really? Because
dude, it's on the nose. Let me tell you.
Tell me, please, because I didn't catch that.
Oh yeah. So the one story. Well, crap. I'm kind of jumping here.
It's okay. Jump around.
All right. So the frat house boy.
Okay. The Jake guy.
Yeah. Yeah. When he's grabbing his keys, close up on the keys and the turning, and then the hitting the gas and those are Sam Raimi.
You felt that was Sam
Raimi? Oh, absolutely. On the nose.
I would almost
rewatch it, and it's on the nose.
Huh.
And then at the very end with the babies coming from hell, that was so drag me to hell. Oh yeah, on the nose.
Yeah.
On the nose.
I did like that part at the end with
the
babies.
And then he had a visual style of inside the elevator was Guillermo del Toro.
Huh.
Yeah, it was del Toro. Crimson.
Crimson Peak.
Crimson Peak.
Crimson Peak, is that? Yeah. I never saw that. I got to watch that.
You do.
Is it pretty good?
It's
Del Toro,
it's not a horror. I mean, it's not scary.
Visually, I hear it's really.
Yeah. I mean, and Del Toro has a certain visual style.
He does. And I like his style.
So if you like his style, you'll like Crimson Peak. The inside of the elevator towards the end with, what was going on and the floating, that was totally Crimson Peak.
All right.
Without a doubt.
Interesting. Because I usually pick up on because I love Sam Raimi. I usually pick up on his style, and we've talked about him on the podcast before. You can kind of tell, I didn't catch that in this, but that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk about the first story. It's really not much to talk about, right? So all these stories are taking place when, in the 50s, 60s?
Well, that's it. I want to say it's timeless because I was thinking the same thing, but the babysitter story, there was an answering machine, but then they almost purposely made the inside of the house look almost kind of timeless. Like it could have been the 80s. It could have been the 90s. It could have been the 70s. Like the kitchen itself was like old. you know,
Yeah.
like the timer looked like from the 50s, but they had an answering machine in there. And the way that the babysitter dressed, she looked like she dressed in the 80s, 90s.
Okay.
And she didn't look like from the 50s or the 40s.
So let me ask you this then really fast. Okay. So when Sam comes to the mortuary to see the little boy, what year is that? Is that the same year as the babysitter story? Because she's really part of that story?
Right.
So, okay. So maybe 80s?
It could be
80s or something.
Could be 80s.
Yeah, because I didn't get a good look at the answer machine. It was weird the way it was almost like mounted to the wall.
Well, it's hard to tell because the little boy in the beginning that's on his bike that's riding through town.
Yeah.
And we follow him from woods to a long bridge that was creepy as fuck.
Yeah, I did like that.
And then going into town. And then if you notice, every single car in town was all from like the 40s and the 50s.
It was.
And even the people who were dressed like they were like in a certain time. And if you notice, he was passing by the fisherman's wharf, and the guy had the fisherman's crate. The crates that he was getting off his fishing boat.
Yeah.
Did you notice that I thought that was like crabs or something, but I really looked at it and it was what was behind the medicine cabinet.
Yes, I did notice that. Yes, I did notice that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
some sort of like, I don't know what kind of, it's not really an octopus. I don't know what the thing was.
I want to call it
like a kraken.
a Lovecraft creature.
There you go. That's appropriate.
It's a Lovecraft creature.
Okay.
Because it had tentacles, but they didn't look like octopus tentacles. They almost looked like they were otherworldly.
Yeah.
And Lovecraft, as you know, they're the creatures and stuff and the lore. It's all like the ancient ones. So it could have been an ancient one.
Sure. Okay. I can
and it was
buy that.
part of an ancient one.
So the first story, like I said, this thing is maybe 5 minutes long. Right, we get this woman goes into the bathroom,
dressed in 50s garb.
Yeah, she's got a glass of wine. There's a guy obviously that's into her, but she just doesn't seem to be into him.
And it looks like she pickpocketed a bunch of guys.
Well, that's the thing. Okay, did she pull those out of something? I thought they were in the can that was next to the toilet.
Nope. She pulled those out of her bra.
Oh, she did. I know she put the stuff into the bra.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so she pickpocketed.
So she pulled those out of her bra and the watch and everything. So she pickpocketed a whole bunch of people at a party. And we're assuming it's a party.
Yeah.
And she's at a party. She's dressed kind of like a Donna Reed, from the 50s, or a June Cleaver, from a party. And or Miss Marvel from, the Amazon Prime show. And she's taking out all the cash, and then she's throwing the wallets. She's looking at the wallets and she's throwing them into the can. And then she took the wristwatch and she looked at it, and then she put it back into her bra.
Like a pocket watch or something.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it was the pocket watch.
Yeah.
I almost want to say it looked like it was Montgomery Dark's pocket watch.
I was thinking that as well. Yeah. And then she just this was interesting. The mirror has like a lock on it.
Yeah.
In the bathroom, and it pops open, and she of course can't help herself. Yeah. She's got to find out what's in there, and this thing won't open.
Yeah. So she takes out a nail file and she busts it open, but that was a mistake, because what she sees, and we don't get to see it first.
Yeah.
Was something that scared the shit out of her. And she's trying very desperately to close it.
Yeah, some creature of some sort. And she does a decent job to get it closed. But she can't really lock the thing.
No.
And the door is a little bit of a walk or a run away. And she's making a kind of a slow beeline. Yeah. And then of course she.
Yeah, she shouldn't have looked. She should have kept her head turned back, and then she should have ran for the door.
I would have
booked for the door,
hauled ass to that door, man, and taken my chances.
Yeah.
But she didn't, and the thing grabs her
through the through the medicine cabinet, and it like snapped her in half.
And this I liked, because I knew it was coming.
Yeah.
And it's like it's common with something like this, like
the Blob.
Yes. Yeah. You expected this to happen because it's this small space, and this big body, and well, what's going to happen?
Yeah.
And I like this.
Remind me of the Blob. Also remind me of like Creepshow 2 with the raft.
Yeah.
It just
those are great, man.
It's like it's a creature that's pulling a human body through a space that it can't go, so it's gonna have to snap in half.
Yeah, dude, this is great, man.
And that's the end of that story.
Yeah, that story was.
And the girl was like, "Yeah, not bad, but needs work."
Yeah,
and he's like, "Oh," and he was kind of like put off. He's like, "Oh, you didn't like that story? Well, here's this story."
Yeah, and this is the one with what's the name of the story? Is it something like "Better Be Safe Than Sorry" or something like that?
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, dude, this one was just. I don't know, man. This one.
So it looked like there was a table set up at this college, and it looked like the guys were. He was trying to play the card of women empowerment, like he was like a fake woman feminist or male feminist. Good looking guy. Yeah,
tall, chiseled,
and then he's passing out condoms. And I would almost have to say this has to be like, almost like the '60s. It almost had like a '60s feel to it.
Because
But then again, timeless.
What he was wearing didn't seem whatever, but when it was. One of his buddies was wearing. I'm like, okay, that's kind of a weird outfit.
Yeah, and then some of the girls that were listening to him, they were all kind of like in a certain, time period.
Yeah, and so but it was. I mean, I guess if you're a douchebag like this guy, it's kind of smart, right? So you go to hand out condoms, and if anyone grabs them, you invite them to your party.
Yeah,
because it looks if they're grabbing condoms, it's more likely they want to have sex.
Right.
If they don't grab them, then you don't extend an invitation to the party.
Right.
Because and this is what he does. And you're thinking at first, he's this great guy. No, the guy's just a douchebag. He is trying to get laid as many times as possible, man.
Right.
So that's what happens here, man. And then he, I don't know, kind of befriends this girl, and
yeah, she looks a little nerdy. She has the glasses,
a little nerdy, but very pretty.
And
and so he invites her to the party. She shows up, and it doesn't
take long.
2 couple seconds, and they're up in his bedroom.
When she shows up to the party, she's looking like like she's like she's looking for it. She didn't look anything like she did earlier that day.
No, definitely.
She
no glasses,
looked sexier, had red lipstick on.
Yep.
And I thought I knew where this one was going. I was thinking, oh, and then they passed by a
billboard, like a little what's a cork board or something like that.
Yeah, like a cork board, and there's a lot of missing guys.
Yes,
and I was thinking,
a lot of missing guys.
And I was thinking to myself, I know where this is going. He's gonna pick up on a girl that's either a succubus, that's like a demon that's gonna suck his soul, or she's a serial killer.
Yes,
and his body's gonna go missing.
Yep. That's what I thought too.
And this is playing out like a Tales from the Crypt episode, because it kind of reminded me of a Tales from the Crypt episode. A little bit from the the early 90s.
But yeah, I mean, dude, they within 5 minutes, they're getting busy up in his room,
and then she's like persistent about him wearing a condom.
Yep,
and then he acts kind of like an ass about wearing it.
Total dick about it. Yeah,
and he's like not. I mean, she's riding him, and he's like not enjoying it, and then he gets pissed off, and he's like, get on all fours.
Yeah,
and man, what a dick. I mean, he should be grateful that she's even sleeping with him.
Dude,
but I mean, I guess he's such an ass and thinks he's so pretty that he can.
Yeah, well, we see, prior to this, we see him looking at a frame. And there's a photograph inside of him when he was a kid and he was fat.
Oh, okay. I didn't catch that until he mentioned it.
Yeah.
And
so the picture in the frame was him when he was a kid, and he was fat and he was ugly and he got teased.
Okay.
And now he's this tall, good looking guy. And now he can basically, it gives him the right to treat women however and have sex however. And it's kind of like he's conquering this,
right.
It's like, I used to be this and now I'm this. And
she was so like, persistent, you got protection, right? You're wearing the protection. Yep, absolutely. And then he's getting a face because he's wearing it, but then he tells her to get on all fours, then he's pulling it off of himself, and
he just shoots it across the room.
Shoots it across the room, hits the dresser, and then they're having sex all night long.
All night, all long. He wakes up about 7 a.m.
Yeah.
She's gone. She writes her number in lipstick or something on the mirror.
And then he rubs it off.
It's like, whatever, dude, I'm done with you. And then, of course,
he's starting to itch.
Yeah, there's a lot of things going on here, right? Itching and vomiting.
And then his friend's like, hey, what's going on there? You might want to get that checked out. And he's like, well, maybe, she had like poison ivy or something. Yeah. And then he kind of looks down and he's got some spots going on there.
Yeah. So he heads over to see the doctor, which was, I did like this, where the doctor, this Dr. Kubler, I hope I'm saying that right. He's tied into all the episodes, right?
Yeah, he's basically the doctor in all the episodes.
All the episodes, because it's
except for the first one.
Yeah, because that one was so short and it didn't.
Unless he was the voice of the guy on the other side of the door. He could have been, but I doubt it because I think he was married. But yeah, and yeah, the test come. He's like, this isn't right. Yeah,
got the wrong file because the tests say that he's pregnant.
Yes,
and it's like, what the hell, man? And then of course, dude, this is happening within a day.
Yes,
like he's now, dude, there's this big belly. Something is growing inside of him.
Right. Well, he's bent over, and then he goes back to the frat house, and he's bent over, and then he's trying to leave, and he finally gets a hold of the girl because he's calling all the random numbers then from what he could see from the lipstick he smeared off the mirror. And then he notices that he finally gets a hold of the girl, and she's like, yeah, let's go on a date. Because he didn't want to tell her the truth of why he's trying to get hold of her, because he wanted to make sure he got a hold of her. And then he's trying to sneak out, and then the guys,
this was wrong.
Guys grab him, and because he had been with the 67th or 68th girl,
67th, I think, and it was like a big deal because I don't know, some sort of anniversary. I don't know.
Yeah, man. So he basically made it on the wall. If you slept with more than 67 girls or something, you get your name on on a pennant on the wall. And he's like, doesn't look like he wants to be there any longer. He can't, because he's like in pain, excruciating pain.
Yeah, and he's got bodily stuff happening here, and this is when he
and they lift him up from the chair, and they're lifting him up, and they're wrong. And they had a hard time getting him up at first.
Yeah, they needed every single guy,
and then they got him up, and then the equivalent of his water broke on top of their heads,
all over everybody,
and it was nasty. It was semen, wasn't it?
I don't know if it was semen, dude, but it was something, and it was wrong.
I think it was semen.
He bounces, gets over to her house.
So that at that point he bounces, he goes out to his truck, and that's when they're doing the Raimi shots, with him. You see the door close, then you see him turn the key.
That almost reminds me of Edgar Wright than Sam Raimi.
No, that's and Edgar Wright gets it from Sam Raimi.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
but I mean, they both definitely have their own.
Yeah,
But yeah, so yeah, he ends up at her house. This looks like a farm, right? Kind of like a farm, and then I guess, is this the dad?
I'm taking it that's mom and dad.
And they're just, oh God, not again.
Yeah.
And because this has obviously happened before, I get the impression that the daughter is just a slut.
Yeah.
She bangs everybody. If you wear a condom, you're okay. If you don't,
you're in trouble.
You're in trouble. You get impregnated. This thing has to, dude, this was weird to me. Like, it came out of this, it's basically like a monster, right?
Yeah.
Some sort of monster demon baby, and it came out of his penis, and his penis exploded.
Well, yeah. Well, he had a huge belly. He had all the purple veins, and this is where like the practical effects come into play. They obviously, it's all practical.
Yeah, and I'm okay with this because I like stuff like this.
And they did veins in his neck, veins in his stomach area, and she seems like she's like, oh well, he's too pregnant, so I'm going on a date. She was like blowing him off.
Yeah, so she could go bang somebody else.
Yeah, so she could go bang somebody else, and she was off, and mom and dad are sitting there like, okay, well, this baby's coming, and he's like, well, how's it getting out?
Same way it came.
Same way it came in. And that's pretty gross, but. And then we get a split second of seeing his junk.
Dude, just like a split second.
Yeah, and it explodes. Hella huge. It's almost like they stuck a bladder in a like a prosthetic penis.
Yeah.
And they made it explode. And then I'm guessing he's dead.
No, yeah, you could tell because it looked like there was a huge hole in him, and he wasn't breathing anymore. So he's now gone. So he basically is now one of the missing guys, right? At this college.
They had to go bury him, right?
I don't know if they buried him. Did they bury him? I don't remember seeing that.
Were they taking him in a wheelbarrow?
I don't remember seeing that part.
Think so.
It's possible. Yeah, I know they took the baby upstairs and then
put the baby in a crib. Then you notice there's a bunch of cribs upstairs.
Yeah, all these monster babies that I guess she somehow impregnates guys. Okay,
and then she has to take care of the babies because she's left with the kids.
Yeah. So what I'm seeing so far is a lot of messages, right? So far.
Well,
practice safe sex.
Well, this is the thing about any anthology. Think about it. Any anthology is cautionary tales.
Yeah, that's true.
And there's always somebody that gets their comeuppance.
Yes, you're right. Because I'm looking at our Creep Show poster right now, and just about every one of those was
even Trick or Treat or any other.
True.
Yeah, they're all cautionary tales. Yeah. Treat people with respect, or you're gonna get.
True. Yeah.
And he didn't wear the condom. He didn't treat her with respect, and look what happened to him.
Yeah.
That girl in the bathroom. She robbed all those guys, and she got curious to look behind She got her comeuppance.
True. And then the next story, I didn't like this story. Yeah. I was so bored by this. Ben.
So the thing I didn't understand is, so we see that he's getting married.
Yeah.
Pretty girl.
It's very pretty. Like he somehow married above his status somehow.
Yeah, totally did. She fell in love with him, and gorgeous redhead, beautiful. And I don't know if he was just flashbacking and remembering the wedding, and then he was like having a nightmare, or
I think so. I think that's what that was. Yeah, because I think we see the wedding book where they had a lot of nice times.
Yeah.
So I think it was just it was kind of like a foreshadowing or something. And
then she
what was her? I mean, what did you think her illness? Because she basically couldn't talk.
Yeah.
She couldn't do anything. Like
don't know, and it seems like the doctor didn't know. But he,
Dr.
Kubler, and, but it was just, and he's like, well, how long could it be? Well, it could be a year. It could be.
And he's just, you could tell he's exhausted. He has to.
She's pretty much catatonic.
Yes.
And she can't talk.
Can't do anything.
She could just hear her breathe.
Yeah.
And
he has to feed her. He has to, I assume, bathe her, do everything for her. And
she doesn't even look at him.
Yeah.
And he's just. And he doesn't mind just as long as he knows that she's in there.
Yeah.
And he even says, just let me know that you're in there.
Give me a sign. Yeah. Because, we see this, he's going through mail and everything's past due. My guess is he has to take care of her 24/7. So I assume he's not working. How are you paying for anything?
Yeah, he's behind on bills, and I'm sure medical stuff to keep her alive is probably expensive.
He even went out to, buy like fresh groceries to start like, hey, what kind of meals can I make for her just to kind of change things up, and maybe this will help.
It's not like he's an ass to be an ass. He's really trying, but I think he's at the end of his rope.
Yes.
And then the doctor's like, well, there is a way. You do realize what I'm trying to tell you.
Yeah. Yeah. He didn't get it at first. Yeah.
Yeah. He's like, there's some pills that, if she takes too many, she could die. And he's like, yeah, doctor, just give me the pills. And he's like, no, I don't think you understand what I'm saying. She takes more than 2 of these. It could kill her.
Yeah, and they can't trace it.
Hint. Yeah, and he's like, okay, he gets it. And immediately he didn't seem like he was on that, on that path. Even after that, he did take the pills, or the doctor left the pills.
Yeah.
But then, he just seemed like he's just wanting to know if his wife was in there, and he even bought her a present because she likes the rabbits, the winter hare,
something like that.
Yeah. She's into winter hares, and he bought her like a nice metal winter hair.
Yeah, I think it was really just to see if there was any sort of reaction, right?
Yeah.
Like, is there anything left in there?
Something to make her happy.
Just something, a twitch, a smile. I don't know,
He's
something.
like, look, honey, I got this for you. I know how much you like them. And, just let me know that you're there, anything, and he just losing it. And he unbuckled her from the table because she was buckled in.
Yeah.
And then, her, he at that point, did he give her? Yeah, that's right.
He had fed her some looks like some sort of soup with one of the pills in there.
Yeah.
And then of course immediately felt, because she twitched or something.
Yeah.
And then he basically almost gave her the Heimlich, right?
Yeah, because she started choking.
I don't know if she started choking. Maybe.
I thought she was choking.
I just thought I just chalked it up as it was something that wasn't there before, and he immediately felt regret and wanted it out of her system.
Yeah. And I want to say, I do want to say she was choking. So she
could have been, yeah.
So he's like giving her the Heimlich, and then he wasn't paying close attention to her head, and her head hit the table. But when he lifted her up, her head went right through the metal hair that he bought her, the statue.
Yeah, it impaled her.
It impaled her head.
Yeah, so he's thinking she's
dead.
But yeah, no, I mean she's gonna stick around for a little bit.
And then he calls the doctor and he's like, "What can I do?" And he's like, "Take her to the river and don't call here again."
Well, I think what he say something like, "Yeah, throw in the ocean. Hopefully the sharks will do the rest," or something like that.
And then he's like, "Don't call here again."
Dude, seriously, man. To me, again, these are just movies, but it's like, okay, well, she's super sick, man. Couldn't you just chalk it up as just a natural accident? Because really, that's what this was.
Right.
It was an accident.
It was.
I know it looks bad, but
right.
You have no history of this probably. So couldn't you just say, can you explain? Look, she passed out, hit this, and so I don't know, man. He seems like an overreaction. You know. He's trying to,
because whenever you try to like overcompensate for something, you just dig yourself deeper
and deeper, man.
Yeah, it's that part of that cautionary tale where what goes wrong only gets worse.
Yes, that's true.
And that's kind of what happens here.
Yeah.
He's like thinking that she's dead, and he's trying to put her into the suitcase.
He cuts off her fucking legs.
Well, at first she's dangling there, and he's trying to put her legs in, and then he hears her breathing before he cut her legs.
I think he heard something, and
Oh, didn't she scream?
Maybe.
Yeah, without the.
So she did something.
Yeah.
But then, I mean, dude.
I'm trying to remember if it was before he cut the legs or after.
No, it was right as he was getting ready to cut her leg.
That's right.
I think he might have just like barely got onto the leg, and then she
let out a yell
or something, and then, but it didn't take him long to dude, he chops her friggin' legs off with this, what was these one of these electric knives or something?
It's an electric knife that I use for carving a turkey.
Do you? That's funny, man. So, he puts her in some sort of like hope chest or something.
Kind of like a footlocker.
Yeah. Now is going to take her to this elevator that he clearly doesn't like. It's just an old ass elevator.
So
that
he
never works.
waits until like the whole floor is like quiet and
empty,
he's like pulling it ever so quietly to the elevator. And as soon as he gets to the elevator and it's about to close the doors, then there's that guy's all, call the elevator for me. He's like, are you kidding? The guy's out. He's like a big fat guy, and he's
big
he's
fat
like
Guido looking guy.
Run into the elevator, and he like smashes his hand, which I almost thought that his hand was going to cut off.
That's what I thought
and
too.
Be inside the elevator. Too.
I thought that too, but then I'm like, okay, well, is that a little too much? A little too much climactic?
Yeah,
I don't know, but I mean, the elevator's old
and it's
sucks.
Not working.
Yeah, dude, it stops.
It stops.
We knew this was going to happen, right?
Yeah,
we knew that, and so, but then all of a sudden, all these, I don't know, man. I think it's the guilt, maybe. Overwhelmed him. I don't know.
But I think the chest, maybe that's also part of the guilt. But it's just bleeding all over.
Supposedly bleeding everywhere,
and he's like doesn't have anything to sop it up with, but his sweater. And he's trying to sop up all the blood with the sweater. It's like covering the entire ground of the of the elevator.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just, yeah, I think he at some point slips, falls on his back or his ass or something. Again, man.
Yeah.
I'm just bored with it. Like, it's like you were saying, it's kind of like the one Creep Show episode, you know.
Oh yeah.
It just was whatever for me. Like, and then tell me what did you think of this when it didn't look like her anymore? It looked like some ghostly, godly old figure.
Oh, it totally reminded me of Crimson Peak. So one of the ghosts in Crimson Peak looks just like that.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Where the one eye is all glossy.
Yeah. He's just imagining all of this because
I think at that point he's just like, we see him later. He's just sitting on the ground and he's totally till death do us part.
Going through
sickness and in health and he's just gone crazy.
He's gone crazy, but it's just, I don't know, man. I just was so bored and didn't care about this particular story. I don't know, man. What did you think? This was kind of the same?
I liked it. Like I said, every story got a little bit better for me.
Okay, so this is really like the second to the last.
Yeah, this is the third story.
Because the reality is the last story is the best.
Yes,
and we know it was made 5 years earlier.
Yeah.
You know, and you saved the best for last. And this was a good story. I liked this story.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was good, man. I mean. Yeah, fucking, you know, you got, I love the idea of, you know, it's a stormy night and you're watching a horror movie on TV.
Oh, but before that, we cut back, you know, in between all these stories, we cut back to Montgomery Dark and Sam because, you know, she's being interviewed for this position of being his helper.
Yeah.
And he's ready to burn the little boy's body that we had the funeral for earlier in that day.
That's right. Yeah.
He's ready to burn the body. And she's like, no, wait.
Yeah.
She's like, don't do it yet. She's like, I do know him, you know?
Yeah. I'm not here for the job. I lied.
I lied about getting the job. I'm here for him, you know? And then she's like, you know, this is actually my story. And then she starts telling the story.
Yeah. Because I mean, she's like, you know, when, you know, good guys are supposed to, you know, all these things, you know, bad guys do get away with stuff and blah, blah, blah. And you're thinking, okay, you know, I'm thinking in my head, okay, she was the babysitter and she did everything she could to save this boy and she failed and she blames herself.
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
Well, my thought was she had something to do with an accident and got him killed. That's kind of what my thought was. But I didn't put together Babysitter yet. So
yeah, and if the rest of this movie was like this one, then I'd be raving about this thing. But the other stories weren't. This was definitely the best one.
Yeah.
And it was, the whole story is great, man. I mean, you know,
it's they start playing the dark stormy night and the girl and the guy are like together. And she ends up taking a shower, and she's waiting for the boyfriend to take a shower with her. And then that cuts to showing you like a killer on the outside looking into the house. The
Babysitter Murders.
Yeah,
I thought this was cool, man. I enjoyed the fact that we have a movie inside of a movie. I love this stuff,
and the fact it's called the Babysitter Murders, and the Babysitter Murders was the original name for Halloween.
Yes, I did know that. Yeah.
Yeah. So a little homage to that.
Yeah.
But then we pan to the fact that what we're seeing is actually on a TV screen.
Yeah.
And
again, old ass TV.
Yeah.
From the 50s or 60s, man. I mean, see, that's the thing, man. The TV was old.
Yeah.
But you said there was an answering machine on the wall.
There was an answering machine on the wall.
When the hell did answering machines come out?
But then all the appliances in the kitchen were old. I just think that they wanted to use, I want to say that this director wanted to use an aesthetic that was kind of almost timeless.
Okay.
And that's why he went old.
Hey, I dug the TV. I thought the TV was cool. So yeah, man. I mean, she's watching this little boy. I think his name was Logan.
Yeah.
Logan is upstairs in bed sleeping.
And she's like going to town on making some like
Dude, it looks like some awesome meal.
Yeah,
like
she's cooking.
she's grinding meat. She's doing it. She's baking something, man.
Yeah.
And we get the impression that she truly cares about this boy. She goes out. She goes upstairs to check on him.
Yeah. She's like loving on his head and stuff.
Yeah.
But then
she goes to throw some trash out. This is interesting because we just see, we're watching this. We're thinking it's just trash. I don't think it was just trash. Because we find out in a little bit what's going to happen. So now going back and looking at this, I don't think it was trash.
I need to watch it with fresh eyes again.
Yeah, I don't think that was trash. I think that was other parts.
Other parts, yeah.
Yeah. So she comes inside and there is a man sitting on the couch and he's bleeding.
Oh, no. But before that, there was a news story that came in on the television saying that there was something at the psychotic at the insane asylum. There was the power went out and accidentally let out some
breach of security,
and there was a psychopath that left the
and then they find out that the psychopath is the one that was killing all these kids or something,
killing kids.
And so that's relevant. Forgot about that part.
Yeah. So then they pan back to her coming back in and then seeing the guy on the couch and he's bleeding from his head.
Yeah. I mean, this is good because, dude, I had no idea what's going to transpire.
Yeah, neither did I.
It was definitely a good job with what they did here because we just think, okay, he's the guy that escaped. He got, who knows? He fell, something happened. He's bleeding. Okay.
Well, they're she goes to the kitchen real carefully, tries to get a knife, and then he's like pops in right there in the kitchen and they're fighting.
Dude, this is okay. So I will say this, like, okay, I understand you're a babysitter and you're there to protect the kid, but damn, I was like, she's ruthless.
Yeah, she is.
That got me to think, okay, something's not right here.
Really?
A little bit, just a little bit, not enough to say, oh yeah, I knew what was happening.
No, I didn't know it was happening. And I just thought that, man, she
was a badass, dude.
She was a badass, but then I'm thinking, man, she's taking some punishment from this guy.
He was
like rocking her shit around.
Dude, he took like a wood cutting board to her head.
But they were both going at it pretty hard.
Dude,
but he was lifting her up. And she stuck his hand in the grinder.
Fuck, that was nasty.
But did you notice later on his hand wasn't messed up?
No, that's what I was puzzled by because she stuck it in there and grinded it and stuff was oozing out.
Yeah.
But then when he pulled his hand out, it looked like it was
fingers were broken or something. Yeah.
So what? I don't know, man. Like to me, I would think that they'd be missing. But
yeah, I would think so too.
But yeah, I mean, dude, this is probably 5-10 minutes of some ass kicking, right?
Back and forth.
And
then the mom's calling. It's like, why aren't you picking up the? You could hear it on the answering machine. Why aren't you picking up the phone? We heard about the break and this da.
Yeah.
And it sounds like mom and dad are on their way back in a rush.
Yes.
And we're thinking, okay, well, shit, hopefully they'll be there to help get this guy down too, because, he's trying to get to the kid. And I think he even mentions, he's like, I gotta get the kid.
Yeah. Like, yeah. Now, if you go back and rewatch this, you go, okay, now I can see it.
Yeah.
But it's little things that they say and it could be taken two different ways.
Yeah.
And so it's like, okay, but I mean, we think this is the psycho. She's there to protect Logan. And we think that's what's happening here.
Yeah.
That's not what's happening at all.
And then right when mom and dad pulls up, she
because Logan's not. So when the guy gets upstairs.
Oh, he's not in the bed.
He's not in the bed. It's just a pillow.
Yeah.
And so.
I thought maybe that he like he's hiding somewhere.
Well, that's what we're made to believe because when he says, "Where's Logan?" she looks to the left and it looks like a little play area or something where he would go and hide.
Yeah.
And and so there's they're fighting and stuff. She makes her way out of the bedroom and she's crawling. And again, we're thinking, okay, hurry up, get away. And
doesn't she throw him down from the stairs?
She does, because remember, he's choking her.
Yeah.
And she says something like, you're not a killer or something like that. Yeah. And so I'm like, what the hell does that mean? I
got to rewatch that. I didn't catch that.
Yeah. She said he's literally choking the life out of her. She's almost dead. And she says something like, you're not a killer. And he goes, yeah, I'm not. And so then, she pushes him over the stairs. And you're thinking he breaks his neck, but he's still kind of alive.
Yeah, and then he's like trying to get up, and then she takes the TV and she does the
smashes his head.
She does the scream.
Yes.
Over the head.
Completely just shatters his head.
His whole head. And that's a pretty good practical effect.
I like these effects. Yeah. And then, but in the meantime, Mom and Dad get home.
Yeah.
Well, we find out Dad is Dr. Kubler again.
Yeah.
So he, again, is basically intertwined in almost all these stories.
Yes.
And they go to the body that's on the ground. Well, we come to find out that the body.
The dad's like, who is that? And she's like, the babysitter.
Yeah. So we're like, oh,
shit. We're like, what?
Yeah.
And then at that point, the girl is the one that thinks stabs the mother and shoots the dad or something.
No, I don't think any of that happens.
Really?
No, none of that happened. No, because remember, Mom and Dad went to they smelt something burning. They went into the oven. Well, we thought she was cooking like a casserole. Well, it was a casserole of Logan.
Yeah.
She this whole time is the killer. Because remember, it flashes on the TV and we see a picture of her.
And then she even said, she's like, messed up my dinner.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
And I was thinking, because she wasn't even like ready to cook some dinner. I mean, she was chopping shit up and stuff, but I didn't even think she got that far in her dinner. And making her dinner.
Nah, she did.
But she is cooking Logan. Yeah.
She's cooking Logan up. Yeah. So Logan's dead and she got away.
Oh, that's true.
She gets away and then
the story ends.
Right? And
then she's talking to
Montgomery Dark.
Yeah.
The mortician.
And then she it's like, haha, I'm the bad guy and I won. And then she ends up.
She goes, you're not going to say anything, and then of course she, can't believe him, so she stabs him. And he's not bleeding.
Yeah. Oh no, he's
bleeding something. What was it?
It's like the funny thing is, it almost looked like phantasm blood.
Kind of did. Yes.
Yeah.
Kind of did.
Like it was like a creamy yellow
goo.
Goo.
Yes, like a goo. Yeah.
And he starts laughing maniacally.
Yeah.
Oh, and before that, when he's showing her the entire house, she's like, well, and he's like giving the history of the house and how old it is. It's like 1815, and there's this big line of morticians, and he's just in one of many in a line of morticians. And he starts laughing, and then she's like, what? And then he's like, the books are falling down off of the bookshelf.
Yeah, because like a library or something.
Yeah, because he's like, these are all. He's like, your story's not ending. Your story is just beginning.
Yeah.
And he's all acting like the tall man at that point.
He was. He sounded a little like Angus.
Yeah.
But I mean, this is one of my favorite parts. I love how because these books are falling, and out of the books are like basically these kids I get the impression these are the kids that she killed.
And they almost look like they have the fire and like the flame, because they have like almost like hot coals look.
Sure. Yeah.
And it totally reminded me of Drag Me to Hell, like what came and grabbed her.
Yeah, at the very end.
With the arms and stuff.
Yeah,
and that whole effect in the CG.
I like this. Yeah. I mean, this was pretty good.
This is mainly a CG part, because they are CG kids, but they're kids coming out of the books.
I felt like some of them though were probably practical. Maybe they kind of sprinkled a couple practical.
There was like a baby doll looking one that looked like it was practical.
Yeah,
but then there was some that looked totally CG.
Yeah,
and I didn't like the way that Logan looked, where she took a souvenir. Oh, that's what she did. She took a souvenir of his tooth.
Yeah,
she always takes a souvenir.
Yeah,
and then he grabbed it back from her and stuck it in.
I didn't mind this.
Yeah.
No, I actually did not mind that. I thought it was okay. Yeah. I knew it was going to happen. I had no problem with it. And so they basically kill her, right?
Yeah, they rip her up.
And this is okay. So this is where I get a little confused, not a lot. So at what point, because we know now, okay, so Montgomery Dark, Clancy Brown's character, it's now morning time. and he's going to go outside. I get the impression that he can never leave the mortuary, right?
So I get the impression that he was under a curse where he had to be the mortician.
Yes, I agree.
And he had to fill his obligation until he got a new mortician.
Is that right?
And I feel like she was the new mortician.
But again, what?
So he thought that he could leave. And I think, and he even like stepped out and he like was like testing it. He's like, he's like, okay, all right, well, nothing's happening. I guess I could walk out. And then he couldn't walk out.
And then he basically blows up.
Yeah.
Right?
He basically, doesn't he turn to dust or something?
I thought he blew up, probably turned to dust.
Yeah.
To me, it was like an explosion kind of. But to me, it's like, okay, so at what point does he know that his work is done and someone else takes over? Like,
I'm sure it was. It's not spoken, obviously, but it's implied that in this long line of morticians, that he fulfilled his obligation of being the mortician because he found the backup.
Okay.
Because I want to say the mortician is the one that maybe did a bad deed. And then this is their punishment, is being the mortician. So maybe he did something bad.
Okay.
She obviously was a killer and she did bad shit. So she ended up, didn't he like stitch her face back together?
He did. He stitched her all back together.
He stitched her all back together. And she was laying on the slab. And then as soon as he stepped outside, she was like, she woke up to where, she was actually the mortician.
Do you think it's where, like, okay, so they do a bad deed.
Yeah.
They have to take over doing this. And then maybe they've somehow earned enough goodwill. And then like he felt he had earned enough goodwill and now it was time to.
Right.
And it just didn't happen.
It just didn't happen.
Yeah. And so now she's now the mortician. And we see her giving an interview to the little kid that we saw at the beginning.
Yeah.
I forget his name. I don't even know if they said his name.
Yeah.
Giving an interview to him and something about, why don't you stay? He's saying, I got to get going because it's late.
Yeah.
She's like, well, why don't you stay around for dinner? Or
yeah.
Something
stay around for dinner.
Something like that.
Which is kind of bad because it's like, obviously Montgomery didn't act weird with you.
No, not at all.
It's almost like he was, unless you were like her, where she stabbed him, he wasn't going to turn on you unless you turned on him.
Yeah.
If you showed him respect, he'll show you respect. But it almost seemed like she was still her old self, even though she kind of had a little air of like Montgomery in her.
She did. I mean, she looked definitely different, kind of older, kind of more menacing, but
like her in her stitches,
she almost looked like a witch, right?
Yeah, but almost like her stitches were like coming like healing. But in scars
for sure. Do you think like if they become this mortician that they can't do anything bad?
I don't know. It's hard to say.
Yeah.
It almost seemed like she was trying to do something bad by saying, "Why don't you stay for dinner?"
But maybe it's just because it's so new that it takes a while to kind of, I don't know.
Maybe.
Man. Again, I'm just speculating. I don't know.
But that was basically the whole plot. Yeah, I like I said, that the production of this was pretty awesome. I liked it.
Production was great, man. Like music was good. Like visually looks great.
The music was on point. So they were trying to capture some tunes of the era. So some of them were like kind of early 60s, and I noticed it was the same band in the credits.
Okay.
Like I read the credits and I almost want to say Ryan Spindell has something to do with that band. So maybe he's a musician in the band as well. So maybe he does the music as well as writing and directing the movie.
Did you catch the music in the movie within the movie for the Babysitter Murders? It sounded like John Carpenter, did it not?
A little bit, yeah.
It had a little bit of almost kind of some synthesizer going on there.
Right.
So like I said, man, it's not like the worst movie, but no. I mean, definitely not one of my favorite anthologies. If the rest of the stories were like that last story, dude, I would have been hooked.
Yeah.
The other ones were just boring, man.
See, if you didn't care for this, I don't think you'd care for Scare Package. That's the other one on Shudder.
Oh, that's the one yeah.
And there's like 3 stories there that I don't really care for.
Yeah.
They could have trimmed those out. The other ones are better, but I think if you watched them, you're like, what the hell?
Yeah.
I just knowing you.
Yeah.
It's just, it just wasn't, there's some on there that were really good and I enjoyed them because they were fun.
I do really enjoy the anthology.
Yeah.
I love short stories. Give me 10 to 20 minutes. I'm good, dude. I love that. I think you can tell a really good story, make it scary in that amount of time.
Oh, definitely.
Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. For the most part, this kind of didn't work for me. But I agree with you. Like I said, it visually was great. Production was great. Music was very good. Clancy Brown was really good.
He was really good. I think acting overall was really good from every actor.
Absolutely. I thought acting was good. It's just I was pretty bored with the first 3 stories. It just didn't do. And really it's the two middle stories were just so boring for me. I just didn't care, So anyways, man, I think we hit everything on this one.
I think so too.
Would you recommend this to someone?
I would. People that are into anthologies and if you enjoyed Trick or Treat, I would say yes to this.
Yeah. I don't know if I would, honestly, I don't know if I would recommend it to someone.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it would depend on the person.
On the person, yeah.
Yeah. Cause I mean, there's a lot of friends of mine that would have, like you would have a lot more tolerance for this.
Yeah.
And some people I know I couldn't go, hey, go check this out. Cause you're like, dude, Rick, why'd you tell me to watch this shit?
Right.
You'd
really have to know the person to recommend it.
Yeah.
Yeah. If they,
So, all right, man.
Yeah,
well,
I think on this one, for me, I think this one's like probably 3.25 out of 5.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. To me, this is like a 2.5. Maybe
2.5. Yeah.
Yeah. It's probably about 2.5 for me. Yeah. Probably more of a 2.5 just because of the production and just
and the effort too.
Yeah. I mean, it does look really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and like I said, Clancy Brown is great in this. I just wish they wouldn't have made him look like the tall man.
Yeah.
But anyways, I guess that's it, man.
All right.
Well, cool. Thanks again for coming out. Appreciate it, man.
This was fun.
Yeah. Again, everyone out there, stay safe and sane, and hopefully 2020 is coming to end here soon, and 2021 will be better. Yeah. All right, man. That'll do it for us. Everyone take care. Thanks again for listening. Make sure you tell everyone about our Ear for Fear podcast. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Ear for Fear. You can also check out our website, earforfear.com. There you can keep up to date on news, events, and episodes. You can find us wherever you listen to podcasts. We hope you come back and get an earful.